right now, and I'm so glad we had that beautiful performance, maybe to take the edge off a conversation that I think a lot of people would resist. We are going to talk about divorce right now. We're going to talk about co-parenting because we absolutely have to. And this one is very much for the parents. It's the beginning of a new and often very complex chapter on parenting, and there's no kind of rule book or guide to help us through it, from judging schedules and juggling to get that right, to protecting our children's emotional well-being. The path forward can be anything but smooth and very confusing. Now, with South Africa's divorce rate climbing above 55%, it's a reality many families are navigating. More than half of the adults out there are grappling with this right now. So joining us today is family therapist and divorced mediator Daniela Mayer, who brings both personal insight and professional expertise, plus a groundbreaking solution called Sync In, which I cannot wait to hear more about, an app built to make co-parenting simpler and less stressful. And that's not all. She's brought along her co-parent and former partner, Brad, to share his first-hand experience as well, because, and you can come after me, but I often feel we don't hear the men in this conversation, and we need that voice to be represented. We need both voices to be represented and a balance. So Brad, thanks for being here, dude. I really appreciate your you adding to this, and
very glad to be here.
You guys walked a path. Yep. Wow, and there is an emotional investment here that I can feel that doesn't feel like a normal co-parenting model. So tell us your story a little bit. Just set the tone for us with your incredible journey.
So I think that with my experience as a family therapist and a divorce mediator, I have heard it all. And I think I was married, and I have a beautiful son who's 12 years old now. And I think that when I went through a divorce from my ex-husband, it kind of positioned me in a situation where I realized that this is the kind of therapy I want to do, and this is the kind of solutions I want to be involved in, because I could see where the children struggle. I'm very, very much children focused. And then putting that aside, Brad and I also have a little daughter, and we never got married, but we also had a different type of co-parenting situation where we were dealing with our little girl together because we never lived together. So from a marriage and a divorce, from another baby where we were never really like this integrated family living together, we've kind of been able to navigate all different options about what could be possible, and also how to make it all work again for the children.
For the children. Brad, is that it? Is that your baseline, for the children?
Absolutely, absolutely. Unfortunately, too many people get caught up in their own stories, their own inevitable conflicts with their ex-spouse, and very, very often the children get pushed to the wayside, or maybe just not fully considered in all of those decisions made with each other.
And you know the fallout there. When we talk about this toxicity, what does that look like, and how can that impact the children? Just to be clear to those parents who are caught in that cycle right now.
You see, the biggest thing and my biggest point of departure from the minute people walk into my office is that you need to grieve the relationship. You know, you need to grieve the fact that your relationship is broken down. You need to try and understand what that did to each of you, so that you can heal, so that you can give the children the best opportunity.
And they can see this
play out. They can see this. The biggest problem that we face is because that section is not healed, the ego comes out and says, you know what, I'm going to be the winner at all costs. And people don't realize, because everybody has this, I think, natural instinct that what they're doing for their children is right, that they often can't see the wood for the trees. And something as simple as muttering under your breath when your co-parent leaves the room, to fighting over a schedule, fighting over who needs to buy the football boots, whatever the story is. All of these things have such a dramatic impact on our children, and that toxicity that they live in not only causes mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, not knowing your place in the world, not knowing which parent you're supposed to side with. I mean, imagine being
forced into a position to try to decide something like that. It's impossible. A child has to sit there and say, like, I mean, I also consult with children of divorce, and the thing is that so often they feel so incredibly lonely in it, because their parents who they identify with, half mom, half dad, are fighting, and they're like, I don't want to tell my mom
that she's right about something, because what is my dad
Because it's going to be
think?
used as fuel in this other political
Completely,
fight.
and children are used as pawns way too
Completely,
often.
and so both parents are fighting for the dominant connection, and in so doing destroying what little connection they have
destroying
in that.
everything.
Grieving, that word is something that I can't move past as a father, whether you're grieving your relationship or you're grieving a loss here. What was the most difficult part of this process, especially in the beginning for you, Brad?
It was without a doubt, most definitely, coming to the realization of the fact that I will never live with my children again, full time. You know, and especially very often, the father specifically has like a Wednesday night and every second weekend.
Yeah, it's a schedule.
And it's a schedule. And that's the way it needs to be, not necessarily that schedule, but it needs to all be scheduled. But most of the time, what I find is that the father ends up moving out of the family home and then moves into maybe a smaller place and then has visitation rights. And that, without a question, is for me, was the biggest grieving process. Coming to that realization that no more family dinners, you know, you actually, together with that, you have to now become both parents when they're with you.
Yeah.
You have to become operational in everything. You know, maybe you weren't a cook before. Maybe you didn't know how to make toast.
He says with a wry smile,
Exactly. Maybe you didn't even know where your daughter went to ballet,
Yeah.
you know, during the week because you're off at work or whatever. Now all of a sudden you need to become, you know,
Both.
operational in both. And at the same time, you're trying to grieve this and you're trying to get used to the fact that you no longer actually live with your children. And there's a lot to deal with.
All of this says to me, go easy. Go easy on each other. Go easy on yourself. I can imagine there is a huge amount of self-judgment through this, a sense of failure because you can't even get your own relationship right. How can you kind of make your mark in the world around you? You are not alone. 55% of marriages in South Africa end in divorce. That says we need a plan and we need to work together. I know Brad gave us a couple of kind of jumping off points there and a few poignant moments to process. So we're going to take a moment to process. We're going to get Daniela's advice now on how to be practical, even right down to using an app. Yes, we can get that practical. And if you're a co-parent at the moment, please weigh in on our socials. We'll see you now. Welcome back as we rejoin a vitally important conversation. I'm understanding we are talking about co-parenting after divorce or co-parenting if your situation is unconventional. And thank you so much for you guys for weighing in.
Yeah, we asked the question this morning to kickstart the show all around co-parenting, maybe a do and a don't that you've had from your experience. And thank you so much for weighing in and being honest and vulnerable in a space like this. This was the question. Being a child of divorce is never easy. That's why it's important for parents to offer consistency to their kids through co-parenting. So what would be your do's and don'ts? What would they be? And then you got in touch with a couple of messages. So thank you so much to Sir Avile Hloakwa, who said, co-parenting don'ts, never ever badmouth your ex-partner to your child. That's a very good one.
Yeah, very much so. Perfect don't coming through there. Let's get another one from you guys. And this one weighing in from Mabel. Mabel saying, good morning, Expresso family. Yes, it's not easy, but don't guilt trip the child. Instead, offer emotional support and try to be polite in the presence of the child toward each other.
Oh, and you know, I can be petty, but it's important to just keep it clean. Okay, another one from Candice de Beer saying, for me, it's keeping your word. Oh, that's a nice one. Whether it's when your turn to have the kids, to maintaining the child or birthdays, etc., keep to the agreement and have open conversations. People's situations are constantly changing, so you've got to communicate.
And then Gary, thank you, Gary, our OG. Never use your children as bargaining chips and be a man who pays maintenance.
Yes, Gary.
This says structure, consistency are key in the plan. You have got an app that is informed, obviously, by your lifetime of information and experience. Talk us through how it works.
Okay. So firstly, before I get to that, I just want to say that children only need a limited amount of things to thrive. The one is consistency, the one is routine, and the other one is unconditional support. It doesn't matter what your family system looks like. It doesn't matter if it's unconventional, divorced, insane, crazy, perfect, whatever.
That's your baseline.
That's your baseline. Even children of married relationships where the family's happy, if they don't have those three things, there's a problem. So for parents who are going through this, co-parents, the guilt is a real thing. I feel it myself. But if you can offer them those three things, consistency, routine, and support, they will be okay. So don't be too hard on yourselves, is my first message.
I love that. Thank you.
The second thing I want to say is about Sync In, is that over the last 15 years of personal and professional experience, I have noticed some very serious holes in the entire system. And conflict in co-parenting always seems to boil down to the same few things. One of them is the schedule. Who gets the children when? Who's supposed to be picking up the children from where? You know? And then the communication around that. Oh, shoot, I've got to be here this morning. Please, co-parent, please, can you come and look after the child?
Because life
please.
happens.
Life happens, and it's okay for life to happen. And I think the conversation around doing favors for your co-parent becomes an area of conflict. And then the third one, a big one, which we're not going to get too deep into right now, is obviously maintenance.
Sure.
So I have got all my clients on their own individual WhatsApp groups. So I say, you know what, if you can't talk nicely to each other, you need to be in touch so that you know what's going on with your kids. Here's a WhatsApp group, I'm watching you. And let's see how that changes the conversation.
Wow.
And every single time we've gone over years of me being the mediator or the parenting coordinator or just the family support therapist, where they've gone from not being able to talk at all to each other to at least being able to speak with a little bit of kindness to becoming friends. And what is the reason for that is, again, self-preservation. They realize if somebody's watching me, I better be on my best behavior.
That's okay.
That is okay.
That's okay, yeah.
That's okay, because what we are doing, which is so important and where Sync In comes in, is changing the narrative and creating new habits.
Sure.
So what Sync In does is it takes all of these areas that cause toxicity and conflict in co-parenting and turns it on its head. We've got what I've launched now already is the scheduler part of the app, where we can set our parenting schedule that is set out as per our court order, our parenting plan, any discussions. We have got the ability to swap custody days. We've got the ability to set up events, set up drop-off and pick-up
And
locations.
it doesn't come with the emotional baggage of having to have that engagement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the beauty about it is that if I go onto my schedule and I say that I am setting up an event, my son's got soccer on Thursday, can you pick him up? And my co-parent says, approve. There's accountability, and that is what a big problem is that nobody wants to have that accountability.
Right.
So no more.
It says to me that you don't have the weight of the baggage of the whole marriage and divorce coming to bear with every single little decision that you're making.
Exactly.
It's picking someone up from school. Can we put it in its place?
Let's just, exactly. It's a yes or no button, no emotion around it. Can you do it? And my biggest problem that I have with my clients is, oh, she never told me. I'm like, okay, now everything is always he said, she said.
Right.
Here we've got a way. Everything gets
receipts.
logged. Exactly. Yeah. Everything gets logged. Everything is uplifted for court if necessary. And nobody can shirk their responsibility or the lack of accountability anymore, you know?
As a working model, how have you found having this kind of space to operate in?
So I was divorced just over 10 years ago. I've got two older kids, 19 and 16.
Wow.
And obviously we never had anything like that, any app or anything. And it really is potentially a source of conflict. Because again, you know, a WhatsApp group gets formed for the soccer lifts. Inevitably, you know, it used to be just one of the parents. And when you're together, only one really needs to be on that. All of a sudden, we need to add each other to these groups so we know what's going on. And then it doesn't happen, and then there's conflicts. You never told me about the soccer match. Well, you should be on the group. Well, I'm not on the... All of this, for me, if I would have had...
The whole time,
If I would have had an app like this when I got divorced the first time, I can't even imagine how many conflicts could have been avoided.
Resolved, exactly.
And also having the record again, that he said, she said, you know, having instead of taking screenshots of WhatsApps and then somebody deleted one of the WhatsApps, you know, this is a record, it's accountability to each other.
To your
and just
children.
making and
To your children, most importantly. Can I just say this, ladies and gentlemen,
good.
I'm saying this to myself and Carissa and the rest of the grown-ups in this room. This is what two grown-up people look like, okay?
Real
That's
adulting.
it. Just real grown-up, normal human beings having an unemotional conversation about something so practical, which is amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sinkin.co.za is where we're going to find a host of these beautiful gateways to mitigate the fallout. But to both of you, well done, man.
Thank you.
Co-parent on!
Yes, to
absolutely
co-parenting.
Thank you.
And also just to note that it can be done. I think many people might feel a little bit, you know, disillusioned, but here's the space, here's the help. Sinkin.co.za is exactly where you can find that resource and make sure that you get on it ASAP to make sure the rest of your path looks a little bit more clearer going forward.